Welcome to Ofofo Studio. My guest for today is Ananya Chand. Ananya Chand has been a finance professional and an investment banker for a very long time. And right now, she leads Startup Pitch. Startup Pitch helps founders raise funds from people who would be best fit for them. Arey, right off the bat, first thing, like going from an investment banker to helping startups. That's not a trajectory that most people take. It's actually small pond, right? Like investment banker is where you end the journey and not really go back to working with very small companies. So why do you do what you do?
I've been working with large banks, Angad,
Hmm.
and in fact, I started my journey with a company at Bank of Baroda, and I have been seeing PSU banks, domestic banks, MNC banks, and the whole journey that
Right,
people do. In between, I have also been working with smaller startups,
right,
right?
right.
So my journey has been, I would say, punctuated by banks
Uh huh.
and defined by startups. So hence
Nice.
for me, it it's sort of a give back period with whatever I have learned till now.
Okay.
One part of it. The
Hmm.
second, I really feel there are a lot of startups in India who do not get the limelight,
Correct.
right?
Absolutely.
If you talk about investment banking, you rightly asked, right? The pond smaller as you go down the
Yeah.
pyramid, right?
Yeah.
Your um, what do I say? If you just do a back of the envelope math, the returns are also
Very small.
specifically smaller,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very small depends on the volumes again,
Right.
right? In India, you can either be a volume player or you can be a premium player,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
Now, it depends what part of the journey workflow you are helping them.
Hmm.
Now, I really, after having seen a lot of startups, their journeys, having individually interacted with them through my work,
Hmm.
I realized that a lot of them lack um, three most important things. One, they might know they might be very good at one particular thing,
Right.
which they should be
Right.
ideally,
Hmm.
right, at the early stage of their journey, but they do not know directionally where they are going,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
Second, uh, talking about this particular journey becomes very important. I mean, you need to be. I was listening to Dr. Velumani's interaction with you, right?
Yeah.
And he says a very nice thing there. He says you need to visualize success.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
cannot, and you need to visualize that success and communicate it effectively to 10 other people so that they are in the journey with you,
Right.
right?
Right.
Most startups are not able to do that.
Basic expectation management. Yeah.
Basic expectation management, basic. And that also happens because you are, as a startup or founder, you are a founder yourself,
Right.
this,
Mm.
you're managing too many things in your daily life,
Correct.
too
Correct.
many things.
Absolutely.
And for you to think about that large picture, you're like, Arey, I have just
It
started.
gets hard.
Now
Yeah.
it gets very overwhelming. How
Yeah.
do I think about $1 billion journey, right? It's
Correct.
not possible. It's not human to do that, right?
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah.
looking at smaller milestones and you're like, इससे ये होगा, इससे ये होगा.
Yeah.
When tough questions are asked to you, you're like, where does this go from here,
Right. Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So you need someone to do that for you.
Yeah.
There's an
Yeah.
external lens that is required for you to, for your communication to effectively reach the investors or financial people who are financially evaluating you.
Correct.
Please do not think, like, a lot of startups come to me saying investors don't reply back, investors don't do this, investors don't do that, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
I'm like, hey, try going and applying for a bank loan. Please do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please do that.
Hmm.
You will then know the journey. You don't look at investor is not obligated to do anything to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
इन्वेस्टर का कोई ऑब्लिगेशन नहीं है. He or she is not obligated to write a check to you.
Absolutely.
You are supposed to take such a good
Hmm.
company or an idea to them that they're not able to say no to you. Why are you not able
Absolutely.
to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you not able to do that, right?
Hmm.
Now, coming to the third thing, there are some basic building blocks that each investor looks at,
Mm-hmm.
especially a financial investor.
Right.
So coming from both the debt and now the equity side, right?
Hmm.
It just becomes easier for professionals like me or people who are investors already to understand what those building blocks are.
Right.
a founder wouldn't know everything in the world, right? And if you are talking to somebody like me or some other investor, right, you easily get the idea that, yeah, I need to have XYZ things in place to be
Absolutely.
able to go to XYZ milestone.
Hmm.
Like telling me that, hey, I'm writing a PhD paper and I expect a 5 mil check because, yeah,
Hmm.
that's the reaction. I'm like,
Entitlement. Yeah.
I'm like, are you one entitled? Are
Hmm.
you two,
Yeah.
you sound naive. More
Yeah.
than entitled, you
Absolutely. Yeah.
sound naive because you need to go through that journey to understand
Hmm.
what do you require at which point in time, whom do you require at which point in time, and why do you need certain milestones to be completed to be able to understand that journey.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, nobody here is sitting. People have a lot of money.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like today in India, we're not in the India of the 90s or the 80s where capital is an issue.
Correct.
Everybody has capital.
Hmm.
People have capital. Like in a very open forum, I think somebody asked. There's so many angel investors right now. LinkedIn पे तो सब अपने आप को angel investors they're writing about it. Why is it like that,
Right.
right?
Right.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. Yeah.
Why not? There
Yeah.
are 1.5 billion people,
Right.
and
Right.
they're like, if you slice and dice India, you can find 10 Indias in one India.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's going to service these guys?
Right. Right. Right.
People like us, people like you, people like
Right.
so many other people who are starting up, right?
Yeah.
Some people may need money, some people may not need money.
Right.
So for you to go through the entire journey, understand the journey, prepare for the journey is very important before you go and jump into the well.
Correct.
Like, I'm not saying uh delay the journey in
Mm-hmm.
any manner. If your preparation takes just 1 minute, do that preparation. That 1 minute is very important. Do that preparation. And today, I honestly believe founders don't have the time, okay, but
Mm.
at least for fundraising or financial, being financially sound,
Right.
uh, able to understand financial metrics
Mm.
is very important,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
as you scale, as you go to a, as you you yourself are showing hockey stick growth to your investor, right? When you
Mm.
go to that hockey stick stage,
Right.
what are the things that you require, that you need to prepare yourself for, to be able to handle that hockey stick growth?
Correct.
That is very important. You cannot rely on thousands of people to show you the direction, because then the directions would all look like this.
Correct.
Which way
Correct.
would
Correct.
you go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to make decisions quickly, you have to do a lot of things. For that, you need to prepare,
Right.
and that preparation is very important, very
Mm.
very important. And
Mm.
that's why I feel, even if the pond is smaller, the pond may not be smaller, the pond is very large. We have lakhs of startups today,
Mhm.
and 90% of them don't go to the funding stage.
Correct.
And there's a reason. Like, the reasons I told you are the reasons,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
People think funding तो आ ही जाता है, VC तो
Yeah.
पैसा लिख ही देगा.
Yeah.
क्यों लिखेगा भाई? मतलब
Correct.
why should he or she write a check to you,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
What are you doing differently that they are going to write a check to you? There are
Yeah.
thousands of other people who are doing the same thing,
Right.
right? So that's why I started with this hypothesis that at early stage it is very difficult for people to find good advice
Mm-hmm.
at good price, and at a good what do you say, sound advice that will take them through the entire journey till, let's say, a series E, series F, and beyond.
Yeah.
And every stage requires a different type of
Hmm.
intervention.
Correct.
Every stage needs it.
Yeah.
And the earlier it is that you have the intervention, the earlier it is that you have good sound advice,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to track your journey better. That's
Right.
what I feel.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I started this. And a lot of people like you asked me, a lot of people do ask me this
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the answer is simple. I want to help as many startups possible in India. I want to get in touch with as many startups possible.
Fantastic.
I want to help them in whichever manner I can,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm running a business. At the end of the day, I'm not running charity. I'm
Right.
not funded.
Yeah.
Unlike startups in India, I am not funded by anyone.
Yeah.
So I will make all means possible to help people who are in this journey in
Right.
whichever way possible. And I believe there is a great value that you can create in the early stage
Correct.
versus the later stages where help is available abundantly. I
Right.
mean, I don't
Right.
think there is any dearth of help.
Right.
And by the way, Angad, you'll
Mm.
be surprised. This is not just an India problem.
Okay. Okay.
This is a problem in other markets also that I've seen. This is a
Really.
very big problem in African economies where startups are now starting. The whole of Southeast Asia, a lot of startups have the same problem. So basically, you're not alone in this journey. Everybody is going through the same journey, same boat, same things.
Hmm.
It all depends on what decisions you're making at what point in time and how you're preparing for the challenges that come towards you.
Correct, correct.
That's
So, Ananya, most of the founders that you'd be interacting with, right? I that's again my assumption. A lot of them are stuck in their own journey, not stuck in their own journey, but they stick to their lanes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
and they tend to only focus on the key problems that they started off like solving.
Mhm.
But for you, you have a very different view of those things because you've got like 1,000 feet level view of multiple startups who are
Mhm.
more or less in the same stages, uh, but are also navigating those kind of issues. What are some of the problems that you see that are common across most startups in their early stages when you're interacting with them?
Okay.
Hmm.
One, right off the bat, because we're talking finance, not estimating their runway properly.
Right, right, right.
So you're coming off, you're starting a company thinking I'm not going to make revenues.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, if you're not going to make revenues and you've raised some early angel funding or your own, money you've invested,
Right,
you have to really estimate your runway properly. Nobody is going to. So this is for all startups at all stages. VCs do not write a check to you unless they have had you know, some kind of evaluation done with you. They know you, they've seen you around, they're comfortable
right.
that, yeah, these founders are going to take this company from A to IPO,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whereas I see founders not um, appreciating this journey.
Right.
Like, if you're even, you tell me, Angad, will you even give me a rupee, right?
Hmm.
Without evaluating me?
Absolutely no. I'm a very frugal guy.
Nobody's going to do
And like
that.
as an Indian guy, I have like I am spoiled silly, like as a consumer, right? And also like I like to get the best value for my
Deals.
buck. Like even when I'm sorting things to buy online, I always go from like low to high.
So you look at this. Why do you expect VCs to do anything
Yeah,
different?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'd like to enter a good deal. If I were investing, right, I would like to enter a good deal at the right time with the right guys.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to bet my money on anything else,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
How do you signal this to the market? That's lacking.
Right.
That's lacking big time. This understanding that, um, yeah, if I finish my money in 2 months now,
Hmm.
within 2 months, I need to raise this much money.
Yeah.
Who's going to give you?
Right, right, right,
Who's
right.
going to give you
Yeah,
that money?
like my ship is sinking. I need,
My ship is sinking.
yeah,
So why didn't you think that your ship
I
is
need a
going to
new engine.
sink?
No,
Yeah,
doesn't work like that. Yeah,
doesn't work like that. You need to plan before at any stage. By the way, this does not just apply to early stage guys. At any stage, you really need to be on top of your cash flows.
absolutely. Yeah.
Your cash flow statement is the king here, not
Hmm.
your P&L balance sheet. All that can be
Hmm.
looked at. Your
Hmm.
MIS, that CM1 CM2, all
Hmm.
that can be looked
Yeah,
at. Right?
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but what is important is cash in cash out,
Correct, correct,
right?
correct.
So you please be on top of that.
Hmm.
Keep a very, 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 if you're not able to earn money, that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
that's a problem.
Hmm.
You may be at whichever stage.
Hmm.
If you're not earning money, there is some problem somewhere that you'll have to resolve before you go burn even more money. A
Absolutely.
lot of people come saying, this much money is required for my research.
Hmm.
Hey, go for research grants.
Right, right,
Go for
right.
research
Get
grants.
incubated by some
India
university.
has
Yeah.
amazing, amazing research grants.
Yes. Yeah.
Before people go to the VC funding stage, I always suggest them that please go for one of these grants that are available from the government
Hmm.
to test your hypothesis, to
Hmm.
see if you're even qualifying for a grant,
Right, right.
right?
Hmm.
If you qualified for a grant, you have met a couple of, and these grants, I mean, if you go to a good ecosystem, a good university which has a good ecosystem, they add phenomenal value to your journey.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal in terms of customers, in terms of the ecosystem support that you get, the support of students in that particular ecosystem. You get your access is literally, like, multifold,
Right, right,
right?
right,
You get access to some other platforms also,
right.
like, corporates who are doing running their
Yeah,
CVCs. These are all the platforms that you should be taking into account before you think that, yeah, I need my first mill.
yeah,
Hey, don't go for your first mill
yeah,
till you've actually exhausted all these options.
right.
You've gone and actually spoken to a bank and asked, hey,
Yeah.
what's the process like?
Yeah,
I'd like you to try that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you brought about a very interesting point right here. Is when people go to raise funds, or I mean, if they're talking to bodies which can help them either with funds or in any other ways, uh, uh, they very disproportionately focus on the money that's coming in. But
Hmm.
there are a lot of other soft advantages, or like sometimes even very hard advantages that you get from a lot of investors or institutions. Like you said, like academics, they can help you with whatever you just said. Like a good VC would also help you with market access.
Yeah.
And like one thing that we always do is, like, if we are talking to an investor, even if we always ask for money too, but the secondary thing that we always ask for is customers. Like, okay, you can't give us money, but at least like connect us with somebody who might need our services. So, what are some other things other than funds that startups can ask from institutions or investors or bodies like you just mentioned?
So, a very powerful thing that investors or institutions, or whichever stage you are at, right?
Hmm.
I'm not commenting on the
Right.
stage, whichever stage you are at, you get access to their network straight away.
Correct. Correct.
Straight away.
Yeah.
And you know what? A
Mhm.
lot of startups come back saying that, hey, who've raised their maybe pre seed or seed, that stage,
Yeah.
they come back and ask, hey, my VC is not really helping me. The VC is not really giving. Hey, have you asked them for help?
Yeah.
No, they should be, helping, telling us what is available. Why?
No. 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 Huh.
In today's world, VCs are writing
Hmm.
left, right, center
Yes.
on LinkedIn, on their blogs. They're doing marketing. They're making the whole world know what their operations look like.
Right.
Look at Bloom.
Right.
They're putting their entire, IRR report outside
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everyone to see, evaluate, and everything.
Hmm.
So VCs are going going that extra mile. Why aren't you researching them well? You've
Hmm.
been funded by them. Why aren't you researching them well? Checking
Right.
out what their portfolio companies are, checking out what where are they plugged in.
Right.
They put everything's out. So where
Yeah.
are they plugged in, what are
Hmm.
they doing, and where you can seek help from. VC is not going to make that effort to do that.
Right. Right.
I
Why
mean,
would
they
they?
might
Yeah.
make it
Huh.
from a portfolio management
Huh.
perspective, yeah, but how much can I, as a financial investor,
Hmm.
do to make you understand how to run your business?
Right.
It's your
Yeah.
business.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
your
Correct.
business. You
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah.
You ask me for help, and I'll give you that help,
Hmm.
because that network is with me, right?
Right. Right.
For example, let's take academic institutions who
Right.
run your Atal incubation centers,
Right.
who give your like SISF grants, or
Hmm.
any other government, state government grants,
Yeah.
etc. What can they give you access to? They can give you access to, one,
Mhm.
all the research papers. You're doing a lot of research, you're trying to prove a hypothesis, right? All the research papers, access to your research candidates, access to a lot of academic support,
Hmm.
which would otherwise be very costly for you to acquire,
Absolutely.
right? That
Also, it
knowledge.
establishes credibility, which is,
Correct.
yeah, correct.
It establishes your credibility.
Hmm.
Second, access to participate in events, participate or speak in events
Hmm.
that they are, a part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
branding happens
Correct.
automatically.
Correct.
Your exposure happens automatically. A lot of event booths are given by these guys,
Right.
which
Right.
you would otherwise have to pay for,
Yeah. Yeah. And they
right?
don't. They don't come cheap.
They don't come cheap.
Yeah.
So these are the ecosystem levers that you should be using when you're inside that. And they have, by the way, do not forget, they have access to portfolio companies,
Hmm.
of which, let's take a annual portfolio of any of these institutes, right?
Hmm.
They might be having anywhere from 50 to 60,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
Up, out of 50 to 60, I'm just taking a very conservative
Right.
number. Out of 50 to 60, you might have two companies or three companies
Hmm.
that will do phenomenally well.
Okay.
phenomenally well. Like
Hmm.
they'll go to Series A, they will go to Series B, and so on.
So
Right?
10% of the entire group.
Why don't you go plug in to the whole portfolio that is there?
Right, right, right.
Why don't you go speak to them? That's the community that you're building.
Yeah,
You're going
reverse
through a
engineer it.
shared,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Hmm.
going through a shared experience.
Correct,
And
correct.
if I'm going through a shared experience with you, uh, as a founder, of course, I'm going through a shared experience, but at the same time, I'm in the same, plugged into the same ecosystem as you. So
Hmm.
we benefit together out of that ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Ecosystem will never come to you and say, hey, benefit out of me like this.
Right, right, right. You got to
Those plans are not written and those plans are not that. That's
Yeah,
you,
that's you.
your ingenuity. How do you go and figure, map your way through this whole ecosystems,
Hmm.
and then come out
Right.
successful,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Sometimes, so a lot of times, though you rightly mentioned that founders are focused mostly on the money part of it.
Right, right.
Okay, because that's P1. That's like, if I don't have money, I can't do XYZ things,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
runway is
yeah,
not going. That's P1,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Good thought. Good thought. Your ecosystem may not always be able to help you give money,
Right.
right?
Uh,
तो जहाँ पे आप plugged in हो,
hmm.
let's say you are plugged into one VC's ecosystem or an institution's ecosystem, the VC may say, I'm not going to follow up the next
Yeah,
round.
yeah.
There may be hundreds of reasons why he's saying it. It's not a reflection on you.
Hmm.
It may be a reflection. It may be some other, decision making process
Yeah,
that's going on.
yeah,
Why can't you plug into other stuff that they have access to?
yeah.
Why can't you ask them to make introductions? If they're not doing it,
Right,
you go plug yourself into another ecosystem,
right,
right?
right, right.
But whatever you have, like
Hmm.
whatever, let's say whatever you have on the plate, if you're not able to make good use of that plate itself, what's
Yeah,
the point? I mean, you are not going to be able to do it ever.
right,
Then
right.
it is very difficult, because all of these ecosystems are not attracting money or able to get deploy funding,
Hmm.
because they're useless, right?
Right.
They are of use.
Yeah,
They are adding value, and
yeah.
hence they are able to attract money. So
Correct.
you are not able to see the value,
Right.
is up to
Proof is in
you,
the
right?
pudding for all to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about it from the other side, from the investor side. What are some areas? Which are some areas where you see there's a lot of money going in, like industries or kind of startups that most VCs are going after, which probably which is probably not the best use of the money at this time. It's- I don't know. It could be a challenging question. And the flip side to that, what are some areas where you think they should be giving more attention to, but it's still suffering. It's not getting a lot of eyeballs.
So at early stage, I'm not going to comment on stages after that.
Yeah.
At early stage, I really feel most VCs, because early stage में कौन function करता है? You have these micro VCs or large VCs who have smaller funds like seed funds and stuff,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So early stage pe, they are mostly agnostic in nature.
Right.
But right now, see, VCs also have a responsibility to their LPs,
Right.
right?
They are
So
also
there is a
raising
certain,
funds.
they are also raising funds. They are
Yeah.
also going through the same journey that
Yeah.
everybody else is
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they do have to show a percentage of their folio, whatever is the flavor of the season. They
Right.
do have to do that.
Hmm.
But at the same time, most of these guys are agnostic in nature, is
Okay.
what I've seen.
Yeah.
Very few, like very few, to nahi bol sakta,
Hmm.
a chunk of them do have sector focused funds,
Right.
okay,
Hmm.
but at the same time there are many of them who also have agnostic funds,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Flavor of the season, you and I both are aware of, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so flavor of the
Yeah.
season gets
Yeah.
funding,
Yeah.
but it's not brainless funding.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not brainless
Right.
funding.
Right.
Like, you cannot be making wrappers and selling something and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Again,
thinking
that's a very
something,
naive
yeah.
thing to think. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
so flavor of the season is one, but the second thing is, what, again, how are you communicating that to your financial investor? How are
Right.
you communicating your idea? You
What are
cannot
those
be saying,
conversations like? Like when the VCs are talking to people who are there, who they are getting funds from. What do they have to say, demonstrate in their investment thesis?
oh, they have to demonstrate three most important things.
Okay.
One, uh, what the strength of their own thesis.
Okay. Okay.
Strength of their own thesis, like how strong are the areas that they have picked up,
Mm-hmm.
alignment with the LP that they are talking to,
Okay.
right? That
Mm-hmm.
thesis is to align with whatever the LP is, thinking. For example, if you're talking to very large banks who are financiers.
Right.
Okay, you will have to, not large banks, actually asset management companies which
Hmm.
are financiers, right? You have to talk about certain, themes that align with that asset management company. For example, if they invest in SMEs, or they invest in, certain fintechs, then that's what your thesis is to talk about. Otherwise you won't be able to, there's no match over there.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
a
Hmm.
mismatch in investor, right?
Hmm.
Second is the kind of performance that they have had. What are the kind of sourcing channels that they have? Sourcing is very important,
Mhm.
right? What
What are
strength
sourcing
of the,
channels?
like, for example, what are the kind of, like, let's forget sourcing as a word, but then what are the kind of founders that they've been able to, what's the top of the funnel look like,
Got it.
right?
Okay, okay. Huh.
What does the top of funnel look like? What are the channels that they're getting
Hmm.
stuff from? How do they evaluate? What is their evaluation criteria like?
Right.
That's where the strength lies, right?
Hmm.
Because you cannot see, you and I or anybody else cannot sit and do a crystal ball gazing
Yeah.
कि 7 साल बाद this founder is going to do what, or this
Yeah.
startup is going to do what,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you to still show that vision,
Hmm.
that hey, these are the primary reasons I have been, investing in this particular founder.
Right.
In early stages,
Mm-hmm.
more than the idea, more than what the founder is bringing to the table, what the founder has, communicated in terms of execution, etc., it is the founder himself or herself.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Are they able to project enough conviction
Yeah.
that they will be able to take it from a very, very, nascent stage to a very, are they moldable, a lot of things,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that layer becomes very important, the evaluation layer. So the strength lies there. Then the performance, like if they've,
Hmm.
been running funds, the performance becomes very important, like how have they been hand holding, what have they been doing, and so on and so forth. There are many other criteria that they look at, but these are the primary three things that any sane investor, if you were investing as an LP,
Yeah.
you'd ask these things. It's
100%.
common sense.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
ask these things. You'd
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
अच्छा आपका folio कैसा हुआ है
Right.
पहले,
Right.
or what experience do you have in folio management, and so on and so forth,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the kind of, those are the kind of questions that VCs have to answer.
Okay.
So VCs have to go through that.
Hmm.
Why are you shying away?
Absolutely. Yeah. I
You have to go through that.
mean.
You have
Yeah.
to go through that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you prepare for the journey. Your primary focus should be on execution, but I always tell founders that fundraising is a full-time job of the CEO.
Yeah.
You are, even if you are a publicly listed company, right,
Hmm.
you keep having QIPs, etc., fundraising is a full-time job.
Hmm.
Fundraising cannot be outsourced. Fundraising cannot be, like, it is you who
Hmm.
people are seeing and, giving money, or, who people are believing. It's not some third party or outsider who can, they can advise you, they can help you go through that journey,
Hmm.
but they cannot be the face of it.
All
You
right.
will have to allocate resources. That's why, when you go through VC, like, one very important thing for founders, if they're willing to sign up to a external equity funding,
Okay.
right? If
Mm-hmm.
there's an equity sort of a deal you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
you will have to make yourself ready for this entire journey.
Hmm.
You will have to make sure that whatever comes on route, whatever, because somebody has written the check to you,
Yeah.
whatever their asks are, you are able to, pander to those asks.
Right.
You are
Right.
answerable to them. It's not that you've
Responsibility.
taken,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Hmm.
responsibility increases multifold.
Hmm.
So if you're not ready to go through that journey,
Mm-hmm.
if you think that you can make, let's say, a let's say a traditional business,
Hmm.
or or a, lifestyle business out of your business,
Mm-hmm.
go for it.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you. But if
Hmm.
you want to go through this whole route of VC funding, going from, because everybody here is looking at a financial outcome,
Hmm. Correct.
not just the, like, I will for a moment, keep the societal, the, overall outcome
Yeah.
at bay for
Mm-hmm.
a moment, right? At the end of the day, it is what is the exit.
Correct.
If you look at today, if you look at any of the narratives, IPO narratives that are
Huh.
coming out,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
what do you see there? What do you see there? The first thing is, itna exit SVC ko milega,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. First thing. Yeah.
Are they saying that Swiggy has actually changed the lives of 1 lakh drivers, or 2 lakh drivers, or
Hmm.
4 lakh drivers? They have done it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have successfully done it.
But
They
that's
have
just
added.
optics. That's just posterity. Like.
No, that's real on ground impact,
Correct.
Angad.
Hmm.
That's real on ground impact.
Right.
But wo impact is translating into what?
Yeah.
Impact is translating into this. this financial outcome, when
Hmm.
people see all of those elements come together,
Mhm.
is when there is a financial outcome also that comes out of it,
Correct,
right?
correct.
That is what everybody is interested in. That
Right.
is the exit. But first thing is what?
Hmm.
Exit क्या हुआ?
Exit क्या हुआ? Correct. That's what I'm
Exit
saying.
क्या
Yeah,
हुआ?
yeah, yeah.
Right? क्योंकि आपने पैसा लगाया
Core
है.
question is that.
Core
Yeah.
question.
Hmm.
Now a bank, if you go and take a loan from a bank,
Hmm.
right? What
Hmm.
will the bank tell you?
Like, when are you going to
कि
return it?
when are you what's the rate of interest? When are you
Right.
going to return it? What's the
Right.
kind of,
Ah,
you go and build an amazing social network or an amazing, this thing is your business, the impact that you've made on ground.
right.
The person who's giving you money is running a business themselves. They
Correct.
have to ensure that their risks are also hedged.
Right.
You
Right.
will have to make sure that whatever you're telling them and however you're executing, it's not just telling, it's like however you're executing, the signals that you're giving to execute have to be in place so
Mhm.
that they are able to make a, their life becomes easier,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Make their life easier, that they,
Transparency, basic transparency. Yeah.
transparency, and you are showing them a clear path to progress,
Right.
clear path to profitability, or
Hmm.
clear path to revenues, whatever your goal is in the short term, right?
Hmm.
And the long term, you're showing them very clearly, and that's what you should focus on.
Hmm.
Your
Hmm.
focus should not be like, you know, ये industry ही खराब है, all that is
Huh.
useless. A lot of
Yeah.
people are making a lot of money from that industry, a lot of people are in that industry, a lot of people have benefited out.
Right.
So
Right.
you'll have to think how to benefit out of it,
Mhm.
instead of constantly evaluating and saying this is not working out, that is not working out. Maybe it's not working out because you'll have to have a hard look at your own business,
Correct.
at
Correct.
your own self, that what is it that's going wrong,
Hmm.
and be open to feedback at every point in time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In the early stages, at least, it's very important to be um, to know what you're working on.
Mhm.
That's very core.
Mhm.
That वो तो मतलब, if you're doubting that also, there is a problem
Yeah.
there, right? But
Hmm.
the infrastructure that you're laying
Right.
to make this work, right?
Right.
Be open to feedback, because if you're not and you're closed at that point in time,
Right.
it's very difficult for you to at a scale to
Hmm.
imagine how this is going to go,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Again, saying it's very different, the journey looks very different for a traditional business, for a lifestyle
Hmm.
business, for anyone who does not want to quickly go to the one bill
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You saw Dr. Velomani's thing, and he said that patience was my only thing. I built
Yeah.
it for for an insane number of years, and
Yeah.
then the returns came in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a traditional business that he was running
Right.
with a very
Right.
different, with unique outlook. Traditional businesses also, by the way,
Hmm.
except for trading for that matter,
Mhm.
they will not survive if you're not doing anything unique.
Hmm.
In business,
Uh-huh.
if you're not doing anything unique, you're not adding value, it will not survive,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And not adding value
Mhm.
comes from the fact that you're getting revenue or not. Simple.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
You're
the
getting revenue
clearest
or not.
marker. Huh?
Yeah.
People reward you.
are people are people paying you?
Huh.
What is going on, and why are they paying you?
Where the
Right?
things, yeah.
So that whole thing, this understanding is important.
For our viewers and listeners, catch our earlier episode with Dr. Velumani, CEO and founder of Thyrocare. This is a video that we keep referencing to because of the golden nuggets of wisdom that he kept dropping every 3 seconds. So, Nanya, going back to the question, what I asked earlier, what are some focus areas that should be getting more attention from founders and investors?
It's a very tough question, but um, trust me,
Mm.
they're focused on where they're supposed to be focused on,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
One thing that I feel, in a country like India, we should focus on, of course, a lot of people do a lot of analysis on revenues, etc. But then healthcare,
Healthcare.
healthcare, um, age tech,
Mhm.
we're all growing old. I'm
Mm.
really, really worried.
Ooh.
We're all growing old.
Yeah.
We're like, it's going to be quick,
Right.
right? Another 15, 20 years, like we're
Mm.
going to reach that stage. There are going to be a lot of people. I think I was reading one of the stats, and it said we're going to surpass China
Mhm.
in the 8,000 to 12,000, per capita income,
Okay.
the bracket, the
Huh.
number of people that fall in the bracket, to, and the services that are supposed to be catered to
Uh-huh.
this particular bracket,
Uh-huh.
it's severely lacking in India.
Mm.
So a large middle class, like upper, what we used to call upper middle class earlier, is
Mm.
going to actually be in that middle upper middle class wala segment.
Mhm.
And that segment, needs very different kind of services.
Okay.
The behavior of the segment is also changing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The kind of parents millennials are is
Hmm.
very different from the kind of parents we had, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So the demography, the kind of behavioral changes is happening very fast.
Right.
Also,
Right.
every 5 years,
Hmm.
the age difference of every 5 years, there is a large uh, difference in how people behave. You and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah.
So it just, like, a lot of services will be required for the sheer number of people that we have,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
Hence, if you remember when I said, like, India is like 10 Indias into one, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
slice it and dice it in any manner, in
Right.
terms of age,
Hmm.
in terms of income, in terms of where we are headed,
Yeah. And there's a
right?
market.
There's like a market for everything.
Everything. Yeah.
But that's the thing, if you look at the TAM WAM and everything, it
Ah,
might be smaller, it might be,
right.
thoda sa, but then you expand this TAM to the Southeast Asian countries and a lot of other places,
Hmm.
it might work out, right? But
Right.
India mein monetization is
Hmm.
yet to play out in a much more
Hmm.
advanced fashion,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that this 8,000 to 12,000 wala category is going to bring in. So
Hmm.
when that happens, the services, you know uh, I think the services that will exist tomorrow will be very different,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Why I mentioned healthcare and age tech specifically
Mm-hmm.
was because in our parents' generation, there's a huge, pensioners category
Absolutely. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they have saved well,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whereas in our generation,
Hmm.
the aspirations to acquire um, a lot of consumerism has increased.
Right.
Let's say
Right.
that way,
Right.
consumerism has increased
Hmm.
phenomenally,
Hmm.
which is of course fueling the GDP, fueling everything else around, right?
Hmm.
But proportionate allocation to savings
Hmm.
is slightly lower
Right.
than the previous
Absolutely.
generation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
People are moving their most of the savings from non-risky assets to very risky
Correct.
assets. There
Hmm.
is a lot of experimentation that's going on in this generation.
Mm-hmm.
How that's going to pan out, we don't know,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Then there is one full segment of people who are unemployed, who need to be brought into the employed segment,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the way for that, I believe, is not going to be gig work anymore,
Hmm.
right? It's got to be some kind of skilled workforce, vocational workforce. There's very little um, focus on vocational training. I am a big fan of Urban Clap for this.
Hmm.
Like, a big hats off to the founders. Hats off to the people who are actually executing stuff at Urban Clap. They've been able to convert vocational training into actual means of livelihood, and
Right.
means of livelihood that people are so, like, their attrition is really low.
Yeah.
People who associate with Urban Club,
Mm-hmm.
you know their ratings are really good.
Right.
There's an entire machinery that needs to be behind it, and
Hmm.
they have cracked the code somehow.
Hmm.
But there need to be many more such Urban Clubs in different segments, manufacturing being one of them. There's
Right.
a real dearth of employees or workers in the manufacturing segment.
Mm-hmm.
So skilling, I would say skilling is one part. Your health, age tech,
Hmm.
that's one part.
Hmm.
Then the third part is, in fact, I was very happy when Zepto, I don't know, Blinkit or Zepto, somebody came up with 10-minute medicine delivery.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I
Right.
was like, why was this not done in the
Yeah.
first place? ये पहले करना चाहिए था.
Yeah. Who needs like an iPhone in 10 minutes?
Why would you need an
Yeah.
iPhone in 10
Yeah.
minutes? But then I think that's the way to sustain that. पहले
Absolutely.
grocery कर लो,
That
उसके बाद,
gets right.
all these things. But then, yeah, these are the segments where maybe there'll be new models that will come up. uh, People are I think gaming is going to be another, gaming and NFT, that space is going to be really hot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there are people who are like, the gamers in India have increased
Right.
crazy.
Right.
And I think there is going to be an opposite sort of effect of all these poker
Huh.
and all these
Yeah.
gambling, sort of that
Right.
whole economy. To
Uh-huh.
counter that economy, maybe there has to be something that comes, like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when we went crazy as a generation, we went crazy on McDonald's and pizzas and
Right.
stuff.
Right. Right.
There's now this whole unjunk movement that has come in,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
People are all like, yeah, I need to take care of my gut health, I need to
yeah,
take care of my
yeah,
mental health and stuff.
yeah.
I believe to, counter that particular, that this whole gaming gambling sort of a thing that's come up now like crazy, like
Hmm.
everybody is into
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
there will be something that comes to counter that.
Hmm.
So these are the spaces, these are some new spaces that can be explored, but at
Hmm.
the same time, like, of course, work, that monetization power has to go up, like, monetization, like paying capability of people has to go up.
Right.
Salaries cannot remain stagnant like this.
Yes.
They've remained stagnant for really long
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
An economy doesn't grow like that.
Right.
People, entrepreneurs, there have to be, the ratio of people going bankrupt has to reduce
Redu-
significantly,
Right.
so that the economy again develops, and people need to build that integrity in them, right? They
Mm.
cannot be taking loans or taking grants and taking this and that and misutilizing those funds,
Correct,
right?
correct, correct.
So certain things, if they're put in place, I think this economy is anyway growing. It'll grow even more fast, become even more prosperous, and a lot of people will, there will be wealth generated for a lot of people,
Hmm. Hmm.
not just a very tiny segment that we're seeing
Hmm.
today.
Hmm.
This is the elite segment, actually, this
Hmm.
tiny segment. A lot of wealth will be generated. In fact, again, going back to Dr. Velumani's thing. So, Dr. Velumani said कि thyroid में just thyroid gland, that 15 gram ka
Right,
gland,
right, right. I just focused on that organ. Yeah.
I just focused on that organ and built $1 billion company.
Right, right, right.
There are so
Identify this
many other
niche.
things,
Right,
right,
right.
in the world to focus on. In India, to hundreds of problems,
Yeah,
right, to
yeah,
focus on.
yeah.
What to focus on, how to solve for it. Like, for example, when he said that in 95 or 98, he got samples, flown from one city to another.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
How difficult would it have been? Yeah, logistic
Right.
nightmare it would have been.
Yeah.
How
Easier
did
said
the
than done.
team solve for it? How
Yeah.
did they take on that challenge? I'm sure there must have been samples mixed up,
Right, right.
samples lost,
Keeping them refrigerated, like
keeping them
yeah.
refrigerated, keeping them intact, so that the report is right,
Correct,
your
correct, correct.
accuracy level improves.
Right.
That's a challenge you're solving for,
Yeah.
and you're solving for whichever best method you think is right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He thought that flying was the best way to do it, because his focus was speed, his
Speed.
focus was how to get things
Yeah,
done
yeah.
without an infrastructure there already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there are many other problems that you and I see on a daily basis on Indian roads, in
Right.
Indian homes,
Mm.
in India's overall economy. They can be solved for,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll have to think very, very differently about it.
Mm.
Not just from a founder's perspective, from a financing perspective also.
Correct, correct,
It
correct.
cannot be like, I need a large TAM for everything.
Right,
This
right.
guy didn't have a large TAM. That's what
Yeah.
he was telling about
Yeah.
entire time. It's like, I didn't even have, I just thought it's going to be 100 crore business.
Yeah.
It went on to become $1 billion business, right?
Right, right, right.
And today, diagnostics is such a competitive market,
It's
such a
huge.
competitive
Yeah,
market,
yeah,
and a
yeah.
large market.
Hmm.
Who knew it's going to be such a large market? Who
Hmm.
knew people are going to be like, I'm going to do a blood test every 6 months?
Right, 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 right,
The demography had changed,
right. Hmm.
and hence you had this kind of a thing come up.
Right,
The demography is again going to change,
right.
so you will have new problems coming up.
Hmm.
But you will have to be ready for those, that that date and age. You
Correct,
cannot
correct.
be acting at that time saying that,
Yeah.
oh, I will act at this point and make something, because there would have been 10 other people who would
You
have
got to
come.
be visualizing that.
You have to visualize that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, as investors or financiers, what are some of the things that they expect from governments of countries that can like help them policy wise? What policies would introduced by any able government would help their jobs easier,
The investor's job easier.
investors' job easier, yeah, make their job easier.
I feel, now this is best answered by an investor,
Mm-hmm.
not by me, but
Mm-hmm. But what's your
just taking a
opinion?
punt
Huh.
here, right? Um, the legal infrastructure needs
Hmm.
to be really good, efficient, and fast.
Right.
Right?
Hmm.
Today, if there is a problem
Hmm.
that I am facing, or the founder for the ecosystem overall, or the founder is facing, there has to be a quicker arbitration
Hmm.
method. I cannot go
Hmm.
to NCLT and do
Yeah.
XYZ things, and it's a
Yeah.
very long drawn process.
Right.
And of course, many a times this favors the investors because they have the wherewithals to take that. But yeah, that's headache. I
Yeah.
would rather focus on, newer companies. I would rather focus my energies, my money into newer opportunities than this, right? So legal infrastructure, very good legal infrastructure, makes investments into any country easier,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Second, of course, you need to have you need to have a free hand. Like, I'll take the example of US, right?
Mhm.
um, the labor policies there
Hmm.
versus labor policies in India.
Right.
So this is best answered by an investor and not me. But just taking a punt here, like, one thing that probably would be most important for to make investment to make any economy investment conducive, right?
Mhm.
Is one, the kind of legal system that prevails here,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
Do you have good legal systems? Do you have good labor policies?
Hmm.
Do you have do you have SOPs that encourage more entrepreneurship?
Hmm.
It may not just be for VC funding, etc. It may be overall.
Hmm.
Do you have enough SOPs? Do you have enough lesser red tapeism
Hmm.
that your entrepreneur is able to go and experiment as much possible?
Correct. Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Does he or she need a hook,
Hmm.
or some sort of family backing,
Yeah.
or friends backing, or a politician's backing, or something like that to go forward?
Yeah. That's
If
not
that's the
ideal.
kind of environment, then there are only a very few people who are going to benefit out
It's
of
not
it,
going to be
right?
meritocratic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to be meritocratic. It is
Yeah.
going to be primarily very, very like hierarchy based,
Hierarchy based. Yeah.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
Every economy will have people like that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because we all live in a pyramid, so
Yeah.
every economy will have people like that.
Mm.
But how much has the policy of the land or the laws of the land, how much has that eased things for people at the bottom of the pyramid? That matters a lot. For example, I'll tell you,
Mm.
in India, the best way, like, if you have nothing, right, what do people do? Like, absolutely nothing, कुछ नहीं है.
Farming.
नहीं
Farm.
नहीं, फार्मिंग के लिए फार्म चाहिए, राइट? तो what do people do? They get into, they open up a pan shop,
Right.
or they
A
have
small
a
store.
cart,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? They have a cart, and
Yeah.
then they procure some vegetables with
Correct.
very less money,
Yeah.
or on a
Arbitrage.
barter system,
Hmm.
and then go and sell it,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
That's the ekdam basic
Right.
thing,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
But for you, if you look at India's business landscape, right?
Hmm.
The whole of the revenues generated by business in India,
Hmm.
99%, the number of, I think there are some 70 million businesses in India
Okay.
across all segments.
Mhm.
So out of 70 million, 70 or 73 million, you have 99% who are these small kirana stores, small neighborhood shops, and everything that you see, right?
Hmm.
Because that's how India has grown also.
Hmm.
India was a very strong trading economy,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Even Raja Maharaja ke time pe, if you see those pictures,
Right.
you'll see small, small shops everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not big organized
No. 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 Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
Organization happened, but
Mm.
they also coexisted.
Right.
Now e-commerce is happening. Sorry, quick commerce is
Still
happening.
happening.
They
It's
will
still there.
coexist.
Yeah.
Somehow they will coexist, right?
Yeah.
But what's happening is the growth is super stymied.
Right. Right.
सुपर स्टाइमीड.
हाँ.
कि मैं अगर पान दुकान चला रही हूँ,
Hmm.
मेरा उतना ही है.
उतना ही है.
मतलब सालों साल मैं उतना ही करूंगी.
Yeah.
अब उससे ज्यादा मैं सेविंग्स कहाँ से करूंगी और बहुत सारा और
Correct.
चीज
Correct.
कहाँ
Correct.
से करूंगी,
Correct.
राइट?
Correct.
सो if I'm a very smart pan dukani, I
Hmm.
will open 2-3 more pan dukans.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
bracket, right?
Yeah.
So how are policies improving access? And this is all a game of capital. It's
Hmm.
not a game of anything else. This is a
Okay.
game of capital, access to capital.
Hmm.
Access to capital has many languages,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
But access to capital is what is lacking here, right?
Hmm.
So government has opened a lot of things, mudra scheme, this scheme, that scheme. A lot of things are there for the SME segment and the small micro
Hmm.
segment, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people are growing, right? But the growth will also look very slow, because all
Yeah.
these people are basically suppliers to the bigger organized guys,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
So the
Hmm.
99% who lie in the smallest stymied segments, right? These guys usually don't have records,
Right.
usually don't have a lot of lot of paper trail or
Right.
anything,
Right. Right.
right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, why they will do that, right?
Hmm.
So that's the bottom of the pyramid that we're talking about,
Hmm.
who are probably who have moved out of their smaller villages,
Hmm.
want to have some kind of prosperity and have shown the entrepreneurial zeal to come out and say कि हाँ मैं पान दुकान चलाऊंगी
Yeah.
या मैं अपना मतलब the cart I will be doing a push cart because I have to survive. I don't
Yeah.
have any other method to
Yeah,
survive.
yeah,
I might
yeah.
want to go to a construction work also.
Right.
Yeah, these are all seasonal works.
Right.
तो हर टाइम एनुअली क्या है,
Hmm.
पान दुकान तो चलता ही है, सब्जी मंडी चलती ही है,
Mhm.
and maybe दूध
Hmm.
चलता ही है. These what quick commerce is doing, that's what they're doing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But what does something like a quick commerce have? Very organized infrastructure, very organized way of working. These people don't have that. They don't
Hmm.
have the ambition also, honestly.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
spoken to countless SMEs by now. um they are all lifestyle businesses. Okay.
Yeah.
They're all lifestyle business. They're
Yeah.
like हाँ हमारा इतना है,
Hmm.
इतना चल रहा है, अब इससे ज्यादा नहीं कर सकते.
Correct.
Let's take even 10% of that, right? Even if 10% become ambitious and get access to that capital without
Hmm.
any bureaucracy, without any roadblocks,
Right.
right? We have a huge value add that we are doing to the ecosystem.
Hmm.
Huge value add, right?
Hmm.
Because they all come in the medium segment then,
Mhm.
and they start supplying or becoming feeders to the larger organizations,
Mhm.
or they themselves become then larger organizations,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what any investor is looking at in
Hmm.
any economy, right? Ki,
Mhm.
are there green shoots that are existing
Hmm.
here
Hmm.
in some sunrise spaces?
Yeah.
दूध बेचना, आलू बेचना is not a sunrise sector. We've made one out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
made one out of it. The margins there are like wafer thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've
True.
made an amazing matlab, we've combined trading with logistics with whatnot,
Yeah.
and then
It's
made
very
a
impressive if I think about it. Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
So किसने सोचा था कि आलू 10 मिनट में आप लेके आ सकते हो in a city like Bangalore, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
यही
Right.
चीज आप अगर if you're sitting in a very small tier 1, tier 3 or 4, this thing, you laugh at this. You'll be
Right.
like, "Bhai, I'll go walk and come and get
Yeah. How
aloo."
is this a problem?
Right? How
Yeah.
this a problem?
Yeah.
Right?
And let me call my guy.
Let me call. He'll come. He'll give it in 10 minutes.
Right.
What is the big deal?
Yeah,
Why are you
yeah.
paying 6 rupees or 10 rupees as platform fee
Yeah.
for
Exactly.
that? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And he'll probably give it at lesser prices.
Right. Right. Right.
But there is a problem, and you've tried to address that problem with existing solutions that are there,
Right.
and innovating in a very different fashion of the
Hmm.
delivery piece,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So now think about the other segments that lie
Hmm. Hmm.
to be disrupted, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Apparel, very big segment. It's
Yeah.
a $100 billion plus segment,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Healthcare, 300 400 billion dollar segment.
Easily. Hmm.
Then your then the whole software as a service piece, which is now going into evolving into something else altogether, like
Yeah.
on demand kind of a software,
Right. Right. Right.
those are the things, those are the places where there'll be a huge requirement of capital from every possible channel that's available. But that's the thing, is there a conducive landscape to
Ecosystem. Yeah.
like, can I go and talk to a college student today? This
Hmm.
is the biggest test, right?
Yeah.
Can I go and talk to a college student today? Not your bits Pilani and ISBIMs of the world, right?
Hmm.
I'm talking about a tier 2 college.
Right.
If I go and talk to them, are they okay becoming an entrepreneur?
Hmm.
Or are they saying, hey, I'm sitting for my placements next month?
It's almost always the latter. Yeah.
You have the answer there.
Yeah.
They have to support their
Right.
the risk of taking saying no to a stable check
Right.
is so high.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to say for some personality, type A personalities, that yeah, risk lena is important,
Correct.
risk to le
Correct.
lenge,
Correct.
chhod denge and stuff.
That mindset is also a privilege of some sort. Yeah.
That mindset is a privilege of
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah.
Of course, like you cannot, like when you have zero in the bank account
Right.
and you take that decision, yaar aapko koi hila nahi sakta. But how many such people exist?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll have to give that safety net to people.
Right. Right.
A lot of I've heard a lot of traditional not traditional mindset only.
Hmm.
Some guys who invest, they say कि अच्छा entrepreneur को तो खुद से मतलब salary लेना ही नहीं चाहिए, खुद
हाँ.
से ये करना चाहिए.
Right.
नहीं,
Hmm.
that's never going to work out.
That's not good.
That's never going to work out.
Never
How
scalable,
is
yeah.
he or she going to survive?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not running a lifestyle business. They've
Right.
taken money from you so that they're going to scale it from X to
Yeah.
X square.
Correct.
How are you saying that they're not supposed to, if you do not support them,
Yeah. Why
क्या
would they
होगा?
do what they do?
Where's the zeal? Where's,
Yeah.
अरे यार, zeal, they have to eat first to have the energy, the
Yeah.
zeal.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so that's
Mm,
very important.
yeah.
So hence the conducive, the mindset that people have around,
Mhm.
the policies that the government puts in,
Yeah.
and the kind of ambition that people from the ground up
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
All these work together.
Hmm. Hmm.
All these work together, and
Yeah.
dheere dheere in India that is improving.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years we have seen
Hmm.
it has improved to a great extent. Now,
Hmm.
I personally, I am very invested in India, and I would like to see that you know people who are from tier 3 and tier 4 cities are able to take the same kind of risks
Right.
that we from tier 1 or tier 2 are taking,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
We're able to take because the ecosystem allows us to take it here.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
वहां से flying every time to Bangalore and
Yeah.
coming and plugging into these ecosystems, it's not easy.
It's
I
not
have
easy
seen
at all.
startups do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have seen startups do that, and उसी में उनका रनवे खत्म.
Ah.
इतनी बार बैंगलोर आना जाना रनवे खत्म,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to develop these pockets everywhere. Everybody has to be invested. Government is doing a lot on the startup front.
Mhm.
They are they have supported for a very long time through their SISF funds and several other funds, actually,
Mm.
not just SISF. SISF is just the first fund that they, the first check that they put in.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll have to be ready as an
Mm.
economy. Also, you'll have to be ready कि ये
Mm.
सब हैं. You
Mhm.
should know ये सब हैं,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you should go and plug yourself into it.
Makes
That's
sense.
how it will grow, probably.
Mhm. So, Ananya, you're talking to both founders and investors, right? So, what's going on in both of their minds? Like, let's start with the founders first. What's going on in their minds when they approach you with doubts or asks for funds, etc.?
Okay, so you are also a founder, right?
Yeah,
And you've been running your company for what, a year, 2 years
two
now,
years. Yeah, more
right?
than 2 years. Yeah,
So, apart from the money part, money is P1, right? Money is always P1 for any founder, be it
correct.
you, me, anyone, right?
Right, right.
Because we're trying to run a business, keep
Mm.
it alive,
Right,
sustain that challenges that come month on month, right?
right,
For us,
right.
month on month matters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But apart from this, what's going on? So money is a very, very interesting topic because money say flow a lot of
Yeah,
questions,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Mm.
Ki hey, right now I'm preparing for my series A or a seed or whatever, right? Or
Yeah.
series B. I
Mm.
have this pipeline that I have built.
Right.
I have this sort of infrastructure that I have built. I have this sort of layer that I've built.
Yeah, yeah.
If I don't get it, it's always there in everybody's mind. If I don't get it, right? If
Right.
I don't get it by this time,
Right.
it's not the point ki if I don't get it ever.
Hitting
It's
it
if I
right
don't
on.
get it, yeah.
Right, right. Like that cash flow, it has to be very consistent because the thing is, like, one missed payment over there means that I don't have enough money to like support two of my employees, right? And like, that the salary needs to come every time right then, right? But when I'm
Correct.
chasing with customers, they'll be like, haha, like, you'll get it next
90
month.
days.
Yeah,
90 days.
next month we'll pay for 2 months.
Yeah.
But I can't be like, I can't pay 2 months ka salary in like 1 month.
Salary.
Yeah, so that is one thing. And then the other thing is just the general awareness about what we do, right? Creating an a India by itself does not have a very strong culture when it comes to privacy and cybersecurity.
Hmm.
Right? It's not that matured.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to change that perspective in the general populace, or if you want to make them more educated and more aware about these things, it's very hard to do without a lot of capital. If you're frugally doing it, it is very challenging,
Hmm.
right? We try to generate a lot of content, we try to go to events, talk to a lot of people, and even cover a lot of scams and try to tell them what are how you can be punished for a seemingly
Hmm.
naive mistake of yours. That is a challenge, but that is a more theme based challenge, right? It's a more general challenge that all companies, all founders within cybersecurity, compliance, or privacy would face. But the general challenge is cash flow. Like, you might say ki money is apart from money, what's the other challenge? But that is the primary challenge, like
Hmm.
maintaining cash flow, making sure that like the deal flows are right. I mean, basic uh, making we follow something called a flywheel model,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that all of the stakeholders or all of the people that we're interacting with, they are correctly indexed into the where they need to be on the flywheel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hard job. It's
Yeah,
not
it
easy.
is.
I
It
mean,
is.
It's uh, it's easy to do it once, but to do repeatedly, it's hard. Like what I mean is, like, you can go to the gym. Going to the gym one day is not that hard. Going to the gym, making sure you go to the gym every day, that's where the real challenge
Hmm.
is. Yes.
No, you answered your own question, I think. So, as you rightly said,
Hmm.
right, money is P1 in any founder's mind,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
From money come conversations, like you said, people,
Hmm.
managing payments to your own vendors,
Right, right,
right?
right,
Managing your let's say you have to increase your infrastructure for the people that you've brought in, or
right.
for the kind of services that you're giving to your own customers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's third thing.
yeah. Hmm.
Fourth thing, managing, very important, managing receivables,
Right,
right?
right.
These are the constant conversations that founders keep having,
Hmm.
right? And of course, how to increase the
Hmm.
sales pipeline
Hmm.
without thinking about increase in product,
Right.
without thinking about increase in people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very very tough thing to deal with,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That you are thinking of increasing your sales pipeline, but you
Right.
don't have the resources to increase some xyz on your
Correct.
input side,
That part is
right?
finite. Like, how can you optimize and maximize whatever you have to get the best?
So, which
Yeah.
is why every VC, every financial investor will
Hmm.
always ask you to plan beforehand. It is
Hmm.
not possible to plan everything in the world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But at least have a basic blueprint how your next 2 to 3 years is going to look like.
yeah.
Like, is it,
Guardrails. That's it.
yeah,
Hmm.
what are the levers that are going to pull you forward?
Hmm.
What are the things that you should be very, very aware of?
Hmm. Hmm.
Usually it is overspending. A
Hmm.
lot of people, so there's a flow that comes after you get into a funding cycle and all. ना there's a एक flow आ जाता है business में.
Yeah.
एक you've built the business to a X level,
Right.
आपको capital infusion मिल गया, एक
Hmm.
automatic flow आना शुरू हो जाता है. आप
Correct.
ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो,
Hmm.
आप खाली levers को ऊपर
आगे
नीचे कर
पीछे
रहे
कर,
हो.
हाँ.
Flow is coming and you're getting a lot of business,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you're getting a lot of attention,
Hmm.
you're getting a lot of things. That's a mirage.
Right, right, right.
That's a mirage right
All
there.
gas.
That's a mirage right there, because you have not evaluated what's coming to you,
Right,
और
right.
आपने spend कर दिया जाके.
Correct, correct,
ठीक है.
correct, correct.
And then you are thinking कि अरे what to do now, again I'm high and dry, investor के पास जाना है, and everything. It's a bad financial management.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So whatever conversations flow from the founder's side, one thing that they need to urgently do, if they're not doing already,
Hmm.
right, is to plan for the next 2 to 3 years. The plan has to be clear.
Hmm.
I'm doing this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
This one thing is resulting into these things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have to pivot,
Yeah,
the pivot may look like this.
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
why why do investors bet on a founder and not on the business
Hmm.
model?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The founder is fit for a, so very important, one more very important thing, right? When you're doing hypothesis and discovery phase, when you're in, right, you're always in the founder problem fit mode.
Right, right.
PMF नहीं हुआ है आपका.
हाँ, हाँ,
You're
हाँ.
only problem fit mode. Like,
Correct.
are you the right founder for that problem? You
Right.
yourself might think, oh
Yeah.
my god, there's too much,
All
I
the
cannot
time.
take
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, once you cross this stage,
Hmm.
is when you go to the PMF stage.
Hmm.
That's when you need external capital, lot of help,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And when that help comes,
Hmm.
this PMF2, let's say an expansion stage, your visualization should be clear how this entire thing looks, and it should not be frivolous.
Hmm.
मैं frivolous कुछ मतलब voodoo magic कर लिया मैंने
Yeah.
और numbers आ गए. No.
Yeah.
What are the levers that you are going to use to grow?
Mm-hmm.
What are the levers that you're going to use to make sure that your company runs in the right manner?
Right. Hmm.
Right? Your sales growth is happening, your
Hmm.
company is running, because you're hiring, wiring, everything will go on simultaneously. And then what are the kind of things that you should be really aware of?
Right.
Those are the things founders should think about
Yeah.
beforehand.
Hmm.
At
Hmm. Hmm.
every stage, when the
Hmm.
money is coming, when the money is yet to come, every stage that re-evaluation should. So some of the really good founders, very important thing, some of the really good founders that I've met and worked with are very good salespeople.
Yeah. They have to be, I think.
They're very good salespeople. They're
Right.
like, I know what's going to happen in my क्योंकि पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है?
हाँ.
एक्सटर्नल को एक मिनट बाद दो तो पैसा इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द रेवेन्यू, फ्रॉम योर बुक्स, फ्रॉम
Right.
योर ओन प्रोडक्ट दैट यू हैव मेड,
Correct.
राइट?
Correct.
सो दे आर वेरी गुड सेल्स पीपल, दे हैव अ कंट्रोल ऑन द कैश इन फ्लो.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
ठीक है.
Hmm.
Then there is another lever which is cash outflow. Usually
Hmm.
that's the co-founder who's a CEO or
Right.
whoever,
Right. Right.
whomever.
Hmm.
That person is managing the entire thing from the back end, so
Hmm.
that whatever inflow is happening,
Mm-hmm.
your outflow is getting managed on a month to month basis, and by the time you come to a fundraising stage,
Yeah.
you have a certain
Predictable model.
predictable
Yeah.
model
Yeah.
that's running.
Right.
Investor is able to see ki acha, this is how you're running the business,
Yeah.
and these are the challenges that you're facing.
Right.
And then they are able to evaluate the business in a much better manner.
Correct. Just show them an engine, like this much in, this much out. Like if you can just demonstrate
Correct.
that, that's half the
And
job
this
done.
much in and something like zero out is a
Yeah.
bad model.
Of,
It's
of
a
course.
bad
Yeah.
model. It cannot be like I'm
Yeah.
funding someone,
Uh.
you funding me, and I'm funding someone
Yeah.
to keep my business alive. No.
Right. 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 Right.
So that's something that founder keeps going on in founder's mind, and I always say that look into it 18 months, 3 years from now. It's not today's story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not selling today,
Hmm.
you're selling tomorrow.
Hmm.
And how are you going to execute that?
Hmm.
What capabilities you have?
Yeah.
That is exactly what investors looking at.
Hmm. Makes
You
sense.
have told a story does not matter to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
मैं story बोल दिया, so
Huh. Huh.
like how are you going to execute that story?
Correct.
What capabilities have you built internally?
Right.
You'll be very surprised. There are some very first time founders, right, who have such good in-depth knowledge of a particular industry. They've done such they've either worked in that industry,
Mm-hmm.
which is sort of a prerequisite, right?
Right.
Or you have actually quasi gained that knowledge as a consultant or whatever, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And you've got such deep insights into that industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
that the person who's investing in you
Hmm.
has full confidence that yeah, this guy knows xyz things. He may not have too much experience, he may not have a lot of things, but he has the
Unique
confidence
knowledge. Yeah.
and unique knowledge to go and execute it.
Correct. Hmm.
That's your why do founders above 40, why are they very successful?
Hmm.
There's a stat, right, that
Yeah.
founders above 40, usually people who start post 40
Right. Right.
or post 35, something like that. I'm forgetting
Right.
the number, but
Yeah.
it might be 35, 40, 45, whatever.
Yeah.
That age range,
Hmm.
you've already accumulated 15 to 20 years of experience.
Correct. Correct.
Whichever industry you're starting in, it's probably the industry that you've already been in,
Yeah.
right? Or it's some sort of peripheral industry that you're
Right.
going
Right.
to.
Right. Right.
You know the levers already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have the confidence to take the risk, you're going ahead and executing that risk. That's what
Yeah.
exactly what the investors are looking at.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
if I'm betting on this guy,
You got to be hands on. Yeah.
you've got to be hands on. अगर मैं
Right.
बोल रही हूँ कि मैं एक AI प्रोडक्ट बना रही हूँ,
Hmm.
right?
Huh.
AI enabled anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Do I know what AI is?
Yeah. You should.
Do I know how to code?
Right. Right. Right.
Or am I, actually using OpenAI to write the code,
Yeah.
copy it, and make another AI?
Yeah.
What sort of AI is that?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Where will I get the sample based data from?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I keep hearing pitches like almost 10 to 20 every day ki, we are, building this AI product, we're building it for healthcare, so and so. Like, where are you going to get the data from?
Yeah.
Kaggle is not your source.
Yeah.
Kaggle is not your source. Healthcare ka data like Kaggle.
Correct.
How will you get
Yeah.
it? Yeah?
Correct. Correct.
So that's very important. Like how much, like, do you know what you're doing?
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you know what you're doing, if you know the industry where you're functioning in, there are certain answers you won't have.
Right.
You won't have in your journey, right?
Hmm.
Which is why external people are coming in,
Mm-hmm.
which is your investors, your advisors, or whatever pool you have created, right?
Right.
Your employees,
Hmm.
they are coming in to help you figure those answers.
Hmm.
But you have that blueprint. आपको पता है कहाँ से कहाँ जा रहा है ये चीज.
Yeah.
और अगर आपको वो चीज नहीं पता है,
Mm-hmm.
तो पहले वो figure करो.
Right.
There is enough time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're young or whatever you are, right? So just figure that out.
Yeah.
And once you figure that out, then you're like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
I've hit the gold mine.
Right. 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 Right.
I've hit the gold mine. Now I can go, I can confidently put myself before anyone.
Correct.
But like there was somebody who was saying decisioning should be fast and it should be made this, that, and everything. Yes, decisions you make fast.
Correct. Correct.
But if your agewala is not buying your decision,
Right. Like, who are you making them for?
you are dependent on them
Yeah,
for
yeah.
your money or whatever
Right,
you're
right.
seeking, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So you make sure that you know the game well before you get into it.
Right,
I would
right.
always suggest that know the
Absolutely.
game well from both sides,
Hmm.
so that you know what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah. Understand the rules before breaking them. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
All right. All right. Ananya, let's shift the conversation towards you. Right.
Okay.
Why? What are your personal motivations for doing what you're doing? Why? Why did you arrive at this place, or was it a calculated thing to do? What was your first job? Let's start with that.
I was with Bank of Baroda's insurance
All right.
company,
So
which
always
is
been a
now
money
going.
woman then. Yeah.
So the company is now going IPO, by the way, India
Wow.
first.
Mhm.
So I worked there, and I learned my ropes there because I used to spend a call out to Poonam here. So I used to work very closely with the trading team on the floor,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
And they used to build these ULIP products and all of that, right? And they used to be on the trading floor, and I used to sit with them many a times.
Right.
And the ropes, like literally, I had no idea. You will be surprised.
Hmm.
At 2021,
Hmm.
I was so financially dumb. Literally, I had no idea how a check is issued.
Really?
I had no idea how a check is issued. I
Okay.
used to think,
Huh.
I don't know which world I was living in. I used to go to a bank.
Huh.
You didn't have UPI. NEFT also came a little later. It was
Right,
not there
right.
when we were in college, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
No, no.
So I used to go to a bank and
Mm.
give them a check and or a DD
Mm.
and that whole thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I knew how to fill those forms, but I had no idea how they
Yeah.
ran.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
my first assignment
mm.
was in a Bank of Baroda branch in Thane,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was shit scared. I was like, oh my god, I have
Mhm.
no idea how to do this, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
again, call out to the manager there, right? He was a sweetheart. So I used to, it was a 1 month or a 2 month assignment
Mm.
at a branch level posting, right? So I used to go and I used to first observe कि
Mm.
बंदा क्या कर रहा है. I
Mm.
was really scared to even touch any of those documents because
Yeah.
I was like यार कुछ हो गया तो this
Yeah.
is a bank.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
when I saw that entire, so he used to do what any other at an operations level what a banker would do,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Processing your loan papers,
Yeah.
issuing checks, and mostly dealing with your small and medium segments,
Right.
right? That's when one very very defining moment for me was when he sent me to Bhiwandi.
Okay.
Bhiwandi उस time पे
Hmm.
Bhiwandi was not the Bhiwandi of today,
The
where you have
warehouses and
Amazon
all that. Yeah.
warehouses
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Huh.
It was very like posh and everything. Bhiwandi now.
Okay.
Bhiwandi at that time was like completely. I'm talking about 2010 to 2009 10, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So at that time Bhiwandi was extremely these were sheds that
Hmm.
were there,
Hmm.
and there were warehouses that were there, but the warehouses were very old and
Right.
rickety and stuff.
Right. Right.
I was like, oh my god, what did I sign up for? And it was in a very remote corner of Thane. Thane at that time itself was like full of forests and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
at all
Yeah.
like it
Not
looks
like
like
it is
today,
today. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So I was like, oh my god, this is like the end of the world. I've come somewhere,
Hmm.
and these people have sent me to some other place. So I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I actually went in, you'll be very surprised. I met a warehouse owner,
Okay.
right? And that was for a bank work only. He
Hmm.
just asked me to, pass on some documentation and understand his business model.
Hmm.
Okay. And I went and spoke to him,
Hmm.
completely blank where I'm going. The guy was so sweet. Like you see these sheds and you enter the office. The office is large.
Wow.
The office is large. He's running 100 or 200 crore business right from that
Wow.
warehouse, that
Hmm.
shed.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
He's a Bakaida, he's a taxpayer of the country.
Hmm. Hmm.
He's adding immense value. Like there were
Yeah.
multiple,
Yeah. So many people
people.
employed. Yeah.
And I was so moved by that experience. I was
Hmm.
like, oh my God.
Mm.
This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is crazy. I
Mm.
hadn't seen that side. Like, I come from a background where both my parents were in PSUs, like with the central government,
Okay.
and I had always seen like nice curated townships
Right.
and
Right.
all of that life,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And then from that life, you come into this, and
Mm.
you're like, oh, this is a parallel world running.
Yeah.
Then you start understanding. So I used that opportunity at that time to understand what this how are these businesses functioning,
Mm.
how are they taking loans from these banks, how are they taking financing from these banks, forex kaise deal
Mm.
kar rahe hai and everything.
Mm.
So whatever little I could understand at that
Mm.
period, right?
Mm.
So that's something I did. Then after that I moved on to some portfolio companies or super mafias. I was
Yeah.
mentioning them to you, right?
Mm.
So my association goes back that long,
Wow.
right?
Mm.
So that was my first stint with startups,
Okay.
like
Okay.
understanding uh, what they do, how they function.
Mm.
And that's when very few angel investors, good angel investors, like this acceleration programs,
Mm-hmm.
and the likes of Ganesh Meena and all, they used to invest in startups.
Okay.
VC industry was pretty nascent at that point in
Okay.
time.
Mm.
Uske baad started the hockey stick growth.
Yeah.
So then of course I completed my I did these stints, completed my MBA, and then after MBA, banks again for
Mm.
7 long years.
Yeah.
I have literally seen now everything and anything in a bank.
Yeah.
Starting from the Yes Bank crisis. So when
Mm.
I went after
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
two-year period,
Mm.
the crisis hit us, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god! Like the shares fell from we were holding at 2,500, and they
Uh.
fell straight to 150 now at 12 rupees, right? So, so I've seen that entire cycle, and
Oh.
then. But I would say Yes Bank was one of the best learning experiences I've ever had, right?
Mm.
Because it's got this amazing ecosystem, and I was mapped to the digital and the tech teams, and really amazing,
Mm. Mm.
really amazing.
Mm.
So. That was one of the best experiences that I've had, and of course, when you see a crisis and when you see an entire ecosystem and a machinery,
Mhm.
deal with the crisis,
Yeah.
you not just become strong, but you also know how things work,
Right. Right.
how one thing leads to the other, how things work, and so on. And then
Mm.
Stancy, of course, like a lot of the startups, how we do, how do we, transform an entire 150-year-old bank, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so on, right? So that was the second part of the banking journey, and through all these things, I was preparing myself for. There was a restless energy in me.
Mm-hmm.
If I think back now, there was a lot of restless energy that कुछ करना है कुछ
Yeah.
करना है
Right.
कुछ
Right.
करना है
Right.
राइट वो
Right.
चुल होता है राइट
Yeah.
समवेयर तो वो
Yeah.
कुछ करना है सो
Mm.
एंड स्पेशली बिकॉज आई वाज ऑलवेज फ्रॉम द टाइम आई स्टार्टेड इंटरेक्टिंग विद स्टार्टअप्स आई ऑलवेज interacted with them throughout, even at ISP.
Okay.
uh, the first debut program with SAP
Okay.
was run by us.
Mm.
It's called ISB Jumpstart Program.
Mm-hmm.
It is available on public platform also. So
Okay.
now I think they call it the D Labs or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's these were very defining moments, right? When you meet founders, like a huge thank you to the founders that I have come in touch with through all these years, right? Because each one of them is high on energy,
Mm.
high.
Yeah.
Matlab, there is nothing there.
Yeah.
There is a lot of energy there,
Right.
right?
Right.
And when
Right.
you come in touch with those energies, right, those high frequency, high vibration energies, you start getting restless.
Oh yeah, it's
You're like,
infectious.
it's
Yeah.
not FOMO. I'll
Yeah.
clarify, it's not FOMO at all.
Yeah.
It's more like you you are tuning to that
It's a
frequency, and you
different
are like,
plane to
yeah,
be on.
it's a
Yeah.
different plane to be on. So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, should I do something, where should I, but I will not honestly, like I did not think maybe too deeply into problems and stuff, but the
Mhm.
problems that I was encountering on a daily basis by talking to these founders is when I thought, yeah, there's a very big problem that these guys are facing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
90% cannot be the reject
Correct. Yeah.
basket.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
90% get rejected, they'll go back to their jobs. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Then what happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there's a one after the other. Things start tumbling in the economy because these people are not. These people have gone back to the jobs. Who's
Correct.
going to give those many jobs tomorrow?
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this definitely a problem. I need to resolve this in my mind, and my hypothesis needs to be proven
Hmm.
right or
Correctly.
wrong,
Hmm.
either way.
Yeah.
So I started last year, and 2023 was last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started last year. It feels like an eon now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Hmm.
so the journey really taught me that yeah, problem statement exists.
Mhm.
The way I thought the problem statement could be solved
Right.
is very different from how I'm solving
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
it. So the execution has changed.
Right. Right. Right.
The way I have probably priced some of the things, the way I have probably thought about helping them out in different fashions,
Hmm.
right? I'm like associated with many of these institutes who run their EICs, right?
Yeah.
So I help them a lot of very early stage founders where they already have support from the institutes. I help them through the institutes
Ah,
because they don't have the paying power,
right.
right?
Right.
And a lot of them who have gone into the revenue stage or have raised their first smaller checks, etc., and can afford are the ones that are getting the full stack service from me at a very affordable
Yeah.
cost, right? So that's I had underestimated the problem of non-payment,
Mhm.
honestly.
Like,
Because I started with a very altruistic motive, and then I
yeah.
realized, oh, this is a business, and whatever I'm
Right.
telling the
Right.
founders
Yeah.
is what I should be doing myself
Yeah.
first,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my books thankfully opened last December onwards,
Mhm.
right? From then, I'm not raised funding. I'm positive on the cash flow.
Awesome.
So these are something. So whatever I tell the founders
Hmm. You're
is
leading by example.
what I'm leading. I'm not sure, but then because they are running a very different
Yeah.
marathon,
Huh.
I'm on a very different track. So whatever I tell them, though, I make it a point to utilize in my own business.
Oh yeah.
Like that becomes a learning curve for me myself when I
Hmm.
see many of these. And again, thanks to the founders, when I see multiple businesses and how they execute it, what are they doing,
Hmm.
what are the levers working for them,
Hmm.
for me it's like quasi learning.
Of course.
For me it's like straight up like a double MBA, triple MBA.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time
It's a
I'm
crash
speaking
course
to
all
them,
the time.
crash
Yeah.
course
Yeah.
on that industry, on that particular way of executing, and for me to learn from them to do my business better. So every founder that I've associated with till now, I will thank each one of them for this because you've taught me a lot. You've taught me immense. You've given me immense knowledge in this last 1 year that probably feels like 10 years
Hmm.
now, right?
Hmm.
So, in short, that's been the journey.
But all of this, like, I was just thinking about all of the things that you have to repeatedly do. You can't do that without having a good decompression mechanism, right? I mean, it could get a lot for anyone. What are some things that you do to just relax? What kind of content do you consume? What is it that you're doing when you're not working?
So, before I get into that, the first mindset shift that I've done
Hmm.
to decompress
Hmm.
is because when you're working with larger organizations, you're working,
Yeah,
right? You have a stable check coming
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
It's a drug.
It's a drug. Yeah,
You're addicted to it. You're like, oh,
yeah,
if I don't get that much, then it's not worth it.
yeah,
And no, get out of that mindset.
yeah, yeah,
Compounding will kick in.
yeah.
It'll kick in at some point in time.
Right.
But if you are so confident about how you're going to execute what you're going to do,
Hmm.
that is the biggest, I think, pullback of anyone who has worked for a certain period of
Correct.
time, right?
Correct.
What I have gained in this 1 year, I cannot compare it with the gains that I've made in the previous years
Hmm.
in terms of knowledge, etc. Because those places have given me a very different viewpoint, which have
Yeah.
readied me for this stage.
Yeah.
So every place that I've worked with, every person that I've worked with has readied me for this,
Right.
right?
Right.
So while that is the context, the money flow,
Hmm.
you should take that out of your mind completely if you're a founder.
Yeah.
कि मैं इतना बना रही थी इतना नहीं बना रही और यार
Yeah.
it'll come,
It'll come.
it'll
Yeah.
come. You've
Yeah.
just started your journey. It will
Yeah.
come in some form or the other. It'll come.
Right.
That's what I've started believing in,
Hmm.
which has brought my stress down to 90%,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
Which has brought a lot of what do you say? A lot of confidence into my decision making. For example, if I have to say no to someone,
Hmm. It's
I
very easy now.
confidently say no.
Yeah.
I say no.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
won't happen.
Right.
And I, like I'm, speaking on this podcast, I'm speaking very transparently here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the same tonality. This is the same way I speak with anyone that I meet.
Yeah. I can
Right?
attest to that.
So, so when I'm talking to you, I am telling you, some facts
Yeah.
that are not going to change even 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, right? How much
Absolutely.
ever you try, it's not going to
Yeah.
change. That's about your business, and I'm giving you a fair evaluation of the business,
Correct.
right? I
Correct.
may be right or wrong in my evaluation,
Hmm.
but that's how I look at things, and I'm like, okay, agar decompress karna hai to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
For your clients, for yourself.
Hmm.
Do not get into as a consultant, honestly speaking, you can get into many tactics,
Right.
right?
Right.
The more the tactics you get into, the more your sleep is less at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sleep well,
Sleep well.
speak as transparently to your clients possible. If they like you, they take you. They don't like you, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're building a business in a slow manner. There will be people who will come, and I can attest to it that there have been many people who have associated with me in this journey,
Yes. Hmm.
because I've just been transparent about things the way they are, right?
People appreciate that. Yeah.
So you decompress, and especially founders.
Yeah.
So you decompress like that by
Hmm.
keeping things simple on the business front.
Right.
If you're making money, good.
Hmm.
Not making money, figure out a way to make money,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Right.
if that's not making money for you,
Hmm.
then think of something else.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped you. Think
Yeah.
of something else. But then don't get into the whole stress ki this is the financial model, this is what I should have been doing, this was my
Yeah.
check earlier.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that's one side of it. The
Mhm.
second side of it is when I see founders' journeys, I'm like, my God, I'm better off.
Yeah.
I get really scared.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is like a lot of stress, right?
Right,
So
right.
when you do that comparison, also, it's sort of like, you like
Humbles you down.
humbles you down a
Yeah.
lot. So that's second thing. Third, I do a lot of I do meditation.
Nice.
I'm a very spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
So I do my puja every day.
Nice.
Every day morning, I have to do my puja.
Mm-hmm.
So I do my puja every day with all the rituals that are there.
Right.
So that helps bring a lot of focus for that day, I feel.
Correct.
Right?
Sets
And
the tone
keeps
for
me
the day.
centered.
Yeah.
Keeps me centered कि यार कुछ गलत हुआ तो there is someone to fall
Right,
back
right.
on. At least I'll go and cry in a temple. It's okay. Like, you know, kuch galat hua to that is there.
Correct.
Like
Yeah.
there is a I believe in the divine power being there.
Mm-hmm.
Without the divine power, you are nothing.
Right.
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 So I believe in that divine power. So to some extent, that has helped keep me centered a lot. Meditation helps me, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then unnecessary stress, like unnecessary जिसका कोई और यही नहीं है, उसका कोई सोल्यूशन ही नहीं है, आप उसका सोल्यूशन नहीं निकाल सकते, but time will take out its solution.
Right, right.
I don't think about it.
Don't
I
stress
don't-
about being stressed.
I don't think about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, कल जो होगा,
देखते हैं तो.
let's think about it later.
Yeah.
Right now, whatever is happening, let's deal with that.
Right,
Right.
right.
So I'm focused more on that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you asked me a very pertinent question. How do you think about your own startup?
Right.
Going like another 10 years or whatever, right? So I have a
That was going to be my next question, by the way. What's on the future roadmap for you?
a future, like if you ask me, like because I spoke about divinity, etc., right? So I feel that my journey is I don't know how my journey is going to be, right? I'm making my efforts to make sure that whomever I'm coming in touch with, I'm able to add some value to them.
Yes.
That is the motto, personal motivation that I have कि आप मुझसे मिले, आपको अच्छा लगा, आपके like I have been able to add some value and make your life slightly better in whatever manner possible, right? I have made it slightly better. That's all that I believe in at this point in time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in this context, when I was talking about tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5, when I am slightly more successful and have slightly more, money in my coffers with me, I will definitely go and invest in those regions. That is my overall aim, because I want to see more and more people from those regions, those smaller areas, right? I myself am from a, if you call it a tier 2 city, right? Vishakhapatnam. I have been brought up all my life there, right? So if now it's become a big Cosmo,
it's
right?
huge and it's beautiful.
And, yeah, it's very beautiful. It's always been beautiful.
Yeah.
So I come from that, and I've lived in a lot of tier 2 cities. So for me, now going to tier 3, tier 4, finding out more of these people who are able to add some value to the economy, that will be central. No matter what I'm doing at that point in time, I'm going to pursue it. And if I'm able to change those lives in any manner, change in the sense, change to maine bol sakti hu, like
Affect
uh,
them
uh,
positively.
yeah, affect them positively, even in a very little manner, right?
Hmm.
That is something that I would like to do. Now,
Nice.
how that is going to happen, I don't know.
Hmm.
I leave that to the higher powers. But
Yeah.
I hope this works out, smoothly, and I'm able to do something good there.
Oh, I'm sure. I have a very good
So,
feeling about
thank
it.
you.
Right. So, Ananya, if people wish to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
So it's simple, Ananya at startupitch.com, or I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also I have a website also. So anywhere you want to connect with me, I'm available. Uh, Please get in touch if you have any questions, any evaluation to be done with your startup, or anything, any help you require. Just get in touch. I will try my best. Now, I'll also have to clarify this, that I keep getting requests day in day out because of the nature of work.
Yeah.
I may be able to help a couple of people, but I will definitely respond to you. This is something that I believe in. That I will definitely respond to you, whatever possible, not possible. I will definitely respond to
Amazing, amazing.
you.
You
Yeah.
don't know how much that means to a lot of people.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, the links will all be included in the description, including the email address, LinkedIn URL, and the link to her website. Ananya, on this note,
Thank you so much, Angad. Thank you for calling me. And I'm really honored because after
absolutely, the honor is all
hearing
mine. Yeah. Like,
Dr. Velumani, I was a little scared how I'm going to go about it. But
no, you
thank you
you
so
you did
much.
great. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rania. Bye bye.